So I recently watched Wicked, and I had a really fun time with it. It was nice to see the musical finally get brought to the big screen, and it got me back into The Wizard of Oz again. However, by doing that, it also reminded me of the countless other sequels, prequels, and other adaptations of The Wizard of Oz, and one of them being very personal to me. That movie being Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return. Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return was released in 2013, and from what I've researched, this movie was meant to be a loose adaptation of the book Dorothy of Oz, and if done well in the box office, was supposed to get a whole TV show and sequels. Yeah. This was supposed to be a franchise. Whoa, with the $70 million budget, making it back shouldn't be that hard. Oh, good lord. Yeah, so this movie was a colossal failure in both box office and ratings, losing the animation studio that made it so much money they literally shut down after it. Honestly, the production of this movie is a whole other video in and of itself. It's just a whole debacle of cease and desist, scams, and lawsuits when the film failed. Well, if we just toss aside all the controversy, how is it as a sequel to The Wizard of Oz? Well, that's the entire point of this video. So let's go past sense to your viewer and see just how is Legends of Oz Dorothy's Return. We begin the film with the trio from the original movie within Emerald City, making their way to the control room to guard the witch's broomstick. I should probably mention that the trio now have wildly different personalities due to gaining what they wanted in the original film. The Scarecrow is now an inventor who can calculate in his mind, the Cowardly Lion is now brave to an extreme degree, and the Tin Man is very emotional. It also made the Tin Man and Lion have some weird tension between them both.
What'd you do? Forget to prime your pump? Oh, very brave.
I'll let you guys decide on what it is. Back on track. The Scarecrow states how a problem has arisen in Oz so big that it requires Dorothy to come back for some reason. I don't know why their first instinct is to call back an 11-year-old girl and put her life in severe danger, but alright guys. Scarecrow also brings up how time works differently in Oz too, so to Dorothy, it's not even going to be a day since the events of the original movie. Can Dorothy actually get a break in any of these Oz sequels? I feel like she's gone through it in every single one of them. Child endangerment aside, the trio enter the control room to protect the witch's broomstick, only to find out that it's been taken. You guys are so incompetent and we're not even 10 minutes into the actual movie yet. Anyway, Scarecrow gets the machine to contact Dorothy, and we are taken to her immediately after the events of The Wizard of Oz. Man, there sure is no place like home. Okay, yeah, that's realistically what should have happened in the original movie with the tornado. So Dorothy's house is pretty much demolished, and to see what's going on outside, she gears up in her iconic cowgirl boots. Yeah, so this movie takes place in the modern day apparently. I don't know what the thought process was behind that decision, but it's not like it's a big problem. Well, that is until we meet one of the film's antagonists, the tax collectors. Damn, Legends of Oz, didn't know you were real like that. I should also add he shares the same voice actor as the actual villain in the movie, that being Martin Short, you know. Just to make sure you really understand this guy sucks. He's kind of just a nothing character, exists purely despite this 11-year-old girl and her family. He doesn't even have a name. That's how irrelevant he is. So he tells Dorothy and her family that he's going to take property of their land, forcing them to move out. Understandably so, Dorothy runs away in shambles to have the first musical number of the movie. Basically a poor man somewhere over the rainbow about how much her life sucks and how much she wished she could fix everything. I will say, I do like the character consistency in how they portrayed Dorothy in relation to the ending of The Wizard of Oz. In the original, Dorothy realizes that her heart's desire is where her home is, and here she refuses to leave as a result of that. Just some nice character consistency between both films. I can't say the same for the other characters though. After the musical number ends, Dorothy spots a rainbow, but then the rainbow begins to move towards her before turning into a full-on chase. Goddamn, what did Dorothy do to piss off the LGBTQ community? Anyways, the rainbow absorbs Dorothy, and I gotta ask, how did no one see the giant rainbow kidnapping the 11-year-old girl? Scarecrow uses the transmission to tell Dorothy that they're taking her back to Oz because there's danger that only she can stop. And I must digress that she is 11 years old. The transmission is cut, however, and Dorothy is placed somewhere random in Oz while the others flee. Elsewhere, we meet Glinda, and she's currently being kidnapped by our main villain, the Jester, the Wicked Witch's brother. He's an alright villain, he gets enough time to do some evil acts, but he really doesn't compare to the Wicked Witch. His biggest fear in this movie was to be in his sister's shadow, and judging by how he is completely irrelevant nowadays compared to her, I'd say he didn't get what he wanted. Turns out he's the one who stole the witch's broomstick, and using its magic has turned every official in Oz into puppets for trying to defy him. Glinda rejects him and whatever accent she has. Seriously, what is going on with her voice?
The land of Oz is already falling into ruin because of you.
Glinda tells the jester Dorothy will stop her, and God, what is with all the people in Oz endangering an 11-year-old girl? She's not a chosen one, she's literally just a girl from Kansas. The jester turns Glinda into a puppet, and that's the end of her relevance for 90% of the movie. Jester goes to his tower to find Dorothy, and he calls out the fact she's a little girl.
Why, she's just a little girl.
I can't believe the villain is the only sensible one in this whole fucking movie. Using his magic, he changes these random signs to trick Dorothy at some later point in the movie. On her way to the Emerald City, Dorothy meets the first of her new gang, since, you know, the old ones are currently eating shit. Meet Wiser the Owl, basically the most useless of the squad. He really doesn't do anything the whole movie, he's just a bystander and doesn't have any dynamic with any of the characters. He tells Dorothy he knows the way to Emerald City, which is just past Candy County. However, the signs that originally said to not eat candy have been changed, so that's not gonna end in disaster, I'm sure. Not only that, but the movie's kind of just like, oh my god, we've only done one musical number in these past 24 minutes, we need another one! And then we get our second musical number. Honestly, I kinda like this one more than the first song. It's just so absurd and all over the place, with the jester looking above them loomingly, the flying monkeys coming in as backup vocalists, the visuals going absolutely insane, and Dorothy being so extra with these random ass cartwheels. You know, sometimes I just like a batshit insane musical number. Anyways, the feds come by and arrest Dorothy and the gang because, as it turns out, eating candy is illegal. Here we meet Marshall Mallow, a person with an actual character design. I sure do wonder if he's gonna be the next member of the replacement squad. Well, you know, getting sent to trial is pretty bad, but hey, at least the Scarecrow's gang is doing well, and they've been kidnapped. So Dorothy and the gang are sent to trial as a result of eating the candy and are sentenced to death. Well, until the judge learns that Dorothy is the witch slayer and she's dropped of all her federal crimes purely because she's a hero. I love when art mimics real life. Well, now that we're out of that fiasco, Dorothy invites Marshall Mallow to join the squad, to which he agrees. Out of all the new characters, I'd say he's probably the best. He's got a lot more going for him compared to Wiser and actual dynamics with some of the characters, including one we'll meet later. So the group reaches the next area they need to pass through, China Country, and started off with the worst joke possible.
What a great wall of China.
Turns out they can't pass to the next area without the princess's permission, who's in the current process of looking for a suitor. Dorothy decides to put Mallow up as the suitor, to which he has a very valid response to.
The name's Mallow, not Shallow.
Anyways, here we meet the China princess and are subjected to possibly the worst musical number of the movie.
When a princess seeks a prince, there's only one heart to convince.
So China Princess tears into every single guy, and soon all that's left is Mallow. Thankfully, he had vocal lessons of whatever arming training he did, so he wins her over, until the entire place just has an earthquake due to the jester. Man, we can't have anything in this movie, can we? So Dorothy tells the China Princess who she is, and her response made me giggle a little, I can't lie.
I thought you'd be taller.
She also gets jealous of Dorothy and Marshall for some reason. Like, she says Dorothy is a little girl and then proceeds to tell Marshall that he should just be her suitor if he likes her so much. Anyway, she decides to join our heroes on the quest because she wants Marshall's creamy, gooey, lovable heart. Back to the Scarecrow's group, they arrive at the Jester's castle and we get another singing number after the tragedy that was the China Princesses. It's alright, not my favorite, but it gives us some cool imagery and provides the Jester enough time to be evil, like throwing the Tin Man in a tank of water to rust, putting the Scarecrow on a wheel of fire, and tossing the lion into a cage. Yeah, one of these is way less torturous than the others. Back to our main squad, they find out the bridge to Emerald City has been destroyed, so they get the idea to build a boat because suddenly Dorothy is skilled in this matter. The trees, however, do not fuck with Dorothy because of what she did in the original film, so that plan's off the menu. That is until they find this old decaying tree who offers to be the boat. We get a musical number about how it's hashtag awesome to work together unless you're the princess who lazes around the whole time. Seriously. 2 of these 3 new characters have done nothing this whole runtime. So the boat is finished and our crew travels to the Emerald City where they find it deserted. They reach the control room where the Jester ambushes them with flying monkeys. From there a chase scene ensues and our heroes retreat to a cave in order to escape them. From within the cave the crew are led by fireflies and at first you're like, aw, this is such a magical sequence. I'm so glad they're getting directions. Until it's revealed it was actually the Jester who throws them off a literal waterfall. So wait, he could have just ambushed them this whole time and instead he did nothing? God, this guy sucks at being a villain. Anyways, our cast is miraculously still alive after that crash. Well, minus the China Princess, she's kinda dead. My most relevant character moment. dying. Anyways, Dorothy decides she's going to become a strong, independent woman, so she ditches everyone else while Weiser remembers he is, in fact, a main character and goes to get backup. Jester learns Dorothy is alive and decides to wait for her to come to his palace. We then get another musical number as Mallow literally burns himself off to repair the China Princess, and Dorothy has her sad emo girl moment. Dorothy reaches the Jester's castle and probably develops a fear of puppets because of what she's currently witnessing before the Jester reveals himself to her in what I assume is his Joker cosplay. He's about to turn Dorothy into a puppet until the movie reminds you Toto is in fact relevant to the plot and stops him by dropping the curtains. One of the monkeys takes the broomstick and another chase ensues. I think I'm just gonna speed run the rest of the movie from here. So they chase after the Jester, everyone from the movie comes back to help Dorothy, there's a fight scene, but then the Jester gets his hand on the broomstick again and casts a tornado to chase her. Dorothy then runs after the Jester and tussles with him over the broomstick, and he loses to an 11-year-old girl. No wonder the Wicked Witch bullied him. He's out here getting decked by a middle schooler. He asks Dorothy to rule Oz with him, but she's not all about that life, so she destroys the magic orb and throws the broomstick in the tornado, to which the Jester follows and gets absorbed right into the non-existent sequel. Glinda returns to Dorothy and is so appalled by her shoe choice that she decides to send her back home using her magic wand. So she really could have just sent Dorothy back home in the original movie the whole time, huh? Dorothy wakes up in Kansas and supposedly learns something from that, so she runs back to town where the tax collectors are, gets up on their stand, and has her main character moment.
Hey, Yue! Bakugo Katsuki is not a monster!
Dorothy questions the validity of the tax collectors, and it really makes you wonder how stupid everyone in this town is if Dorothy is the only one to do it. Anyways, turns out the tax collectors were actually scammers, so yes, everyone is dumb in this town except for her. What is with every character in this movie being so dumb that they need this 11-year-old girl to do everything for them? So the town decides, yes, we are gonna rebuild everything Dorothy, and that's Legends of Oz: Dorothy's Return. What can I really say about it? It really is just the definition of a mid-movie. None of the new characters have anything interesting about them. The old characters are just a gang of bumbling idiots. Aside from 2 songs, nothing here is memorable. Dorothy's fashion sense is gone. It's just a bunch of problems that pile on top of each other that really drags it down. I will say, I do find the character designs for the most part good. Mallow's probably the best example of this, and the tree boat is the worst. I gotta say, of all the money laundering schemes turned into movies, this was definitely one of the better ones. Well, that's the end of this think piece on Legends of Oz. I can't believe this was ever in discussions to become a series, but you know, that's just life. Absurded. If you like this video, make sure to support it by subscribing to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Aside from that, have a good day, and watch Wicked in theaters. The soundtrack of low-key bops really hard.
Sunday morning, vacant door.